So when we say the Qubtic Church, the Black Messiah, doesn't mean we don't want white people here or Indian people here. That's not what we're saying. But there won't be any surprises when you get in here and hear the sermon.
What is the word Qubtic?
Qubtic. Let's first of all spell it. Okay, yes. Qubtic. Qubtic. It means central or axis. Central or axis. Whether it's speaking of a doctrine or a person or an organization or a people. When you speak about the center or the origin of a thing, you're talking about the Qubt or the axis, and the fact that all things are revolving around an origin. You see? So our doctrine goes back to the origin of our people. And our people, we refer to ourselves as Nubian Melanonites, so-called blacks. We are at the origin of all civilizations. We were never civilized because we never had to be civilized. We had culture and we civilized others. So I mean, we better than people? No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, though, that scientifically, and this is why we say we got to bring science to so-called religion and so-called religion to science. The Human Genome Project is well documented that all races had to come out of a black race, as they call it, and then out of a woman, mitochondrial Eve. So if we know this, okay, well, how do we take these facts that people spend millions of dollars to discover and apply it to religion? Because we say religion is supposed to be the truth that makes us free, but we still ignore the scientific fact. You have people who argue to the ground and say dinosaurs they didn't exist. Why? Because I don't see it in the Bible. Really? You ain't in the Bible. Where you at now? I don't see Frank in there, right? But they don't think like that. And dinosaurs are in there, call them the great whales. But the point is that we've been put under a spell. We've been put under an hypnotic spell whereby we now suffer from amnesia. And the only way to find, or I should say the best way to find out who you really are, if you study how they deal with patients that have memory loss, they have to bring things to them that could help them to remember. So I might bring your favorite, t-shirt, or I'll take you into your room and you walk around and, where's this? This is your room. My room? Yes, this is your bed. And as you start to familiarize yourself with your room and your bed, then there's certain thoughts that begin to connect and you mend your memory again. And that's what we as a people now have to do. We have to go back to the Qubt, or the origin of who we really were. And if we get a picture and a vision of that, and when we begin to have an emotional attachment to it, then we now have to ask ourselves, well, why am I doing this then? If what we're doing isn't a replica of what we used to be. Because we used to run the world. And that's why in the Qubtic Church, I'm like, with all due respect, we need to find out what we were when we were running the world. Now when we had this Ethiopia, that's a beautiful place, but it ain't the world. It's just one little country in Africa. You know what I'm saying? And there was a time, and am I saying that in the Qubtic Church, we want to just go and take over everything? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there was a time when no one else even existed for us to take over. They couldn't exist. They couldn't exist. And what I mean when I say they, am I a replica of the original man? No. Not by far. Do I have that original seed in me? Yes. It's in my blood. And the seed is being strengthened generation after generation based on what we know as solar biology, and us coming together and using proper or true eugenics to strengthen our seed so that we can survive in the changing climatic temperate zones that are coming about now. There's a second sun. Even CNN is saying it now, that is going to be present in our view. Not like a star, because we know stars are suns, but it'd be big enough for us to say we have two sons, and a third one is on the way. CNN said this now. This ain't just the Qubtic. We've been saying it for years, and we said it, we was crazy. But now CNN saying it. Oh, but maybe y'all have a point. No problem. So the Qubtic church is that of one known as, or it was brought back to the remembrance of our people some 3,000 to 3,500 to 2,000 years ago, depending on who you ask, because calendars are different. By one known as what they call Akhenaten or Akhenaton, all right, who is given credit for starting what they call today monotheism. So even the Catholic Church, Anglicans, the Greeks, and all of them give credit to one we know our elder known as Akhenaton. Okay, sometimes you'll see Akhenaton. Okay, you go to research it. All right, and what he was doing was, when you research him, what the Egyptologists will say, you got to be clear about these Egyptologists. We as a people, we originally were not Egyptians. That was something that was placed on us by the Greco-Romans, because they said, well, it means burnt faces and your faces are brown. No. We were born this way. We didn't burn this way, right? So these Egyptos or Egyptians, right, will tell you that Akhenaten wanted to destroy all of the other gods and have everybody give praise and worship to one God. That one God being Aton, Aton, right? The high God. And they make it seem as if he's doing this amongst just his own people. And then he's just trying to be biggity with it and say, look, man, it's my way or the highway. But that's not what he was doing. He lived in a day and time where invaders were already inside of our country. And they had us worshiping their images, their gods. Everything that in the Old Testament, when God said, look, I'm a jealous God.
Kind of like what's going on right now.
Exactly what's going on right now. Right? So we were with the Hindu invaders, and instead of recognizing, for example, when they show our great ancestors with, say, a cat or a mask of a cat on, all right, and the body of a human, it wasn't that we were worshiping the cat. We recognized that cat being a part of nature and we being a part of nature, we had some commonalities, and so that cat became a mascot for a school. It's no different than you watching a football game today and a tiger running up and down the sideline with their mask on. Are they worshiping the tiger? No, they're not worshiping the tiger. That's the mascot. They took that right out of the universities that they falsely call temples today. We never call them temples. That's a Latin word, templar, right? And pyramidos, not our words. They wanted to take us out of the mindset of being in universities or a city where you could study the universe, and they wanted to make it seem as if, well, everything was just about, we wanted to build these big, pyramids because whenever the pharaoh died, he had to have this big funeral. It's like, really? That's all we used to do? No, these were schools. That's why God sent Jesus to Egypt when Herod was trying to kill him. Send my son with his people, please. Because I need him to hide, which means he had to look like them. So he wasn't no blonde, he had blue eye, which is why we the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah. Is there a white Messiah? Sure. And that's everyone who wants to worship that Messiah, that's their choice. Now the burden of proof is on them. They got to prove that. Nothing in the Bible speaks to that. But Revelation, the only book that Jesus put in his Bible, speaks of him, his skin being like burnt brass. They didn't just say brass. It's like someone say, oh, no. Say burnt. Because they can try to confuse it.
Yeah.
Say burnt. You want to make sure they know it's black. No vowels. Right? So, in the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah, we have to bring these truths. And we have to make sure that people get them. Because that's the only thing that's going to make us free. Politics ain't going to make us free. Religion ain't going to make us free. Our marriages, our family, all of those things will remain in bondage until we decide we're ready to grapple with the truth. And that's not easy. It's not easy. It's very difficult. And it's difficult even telling people. And I'm sitting there watching, rewatching the movie Malcolm X. You know, just to see. I know it's a remake of how things happen. I like to just watch the actual Malcolm X on YouTube as well. But just to see what the struggles that they had to get that organization off the ground, and to tell people we could do stuff for ourselves, man. You don't have to keep giving energy to people that don't care about us. We don't have to do that. We could actually come together and take all of our energy and build something for us. Just like it was done in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When was it? The 1930s or thereabout. The Black Wall Street. Where the money used to go around that economy 7 times before it left. 14 times before it left. Just like how the Jewish community is today. Like how the Chinese community. Everyone else figured it out. But we know better now. But we tired of getting whipped, man. See, as a child, I didn't like beating.
How could black people know better and still don't do better?
Right. How could we know better and still don't do better? Because we still have so much fear that's been feed into us. So even though we know better, we waiting to see, okay, so like for example, if we been in here stuck now all day and somehow we figured out that this was this door really ain't painted shut, you could go out there, you know. Now we know this. We know the door, but who can learn first? Because all kind of stories about what outside and the next side of the door. Oh boy. So as you walk there, they can shoot you. They can shoot you, boss. No, you only hear when you open the door. That's a 200-foot drop. And the dark, we can't see. So I ain't messing with that. You go. You know what I'm saying? And if enough of us, so we keep creating these myths and these stories about what's behind the door. And not until one of us decide, look, man, I open the door. I don't care if I die. I ain't staying here with y'all no more.
So, fear has nothing to do with color.
No, fear is all across the board. But we're not the dominant group. So there's more fear amongst us with regards to knowing that there's a group of people that have been in control of everything that we do. We watched our parents be controlled, our grandparents be controlled, they watched their parents be controlled, and so there's this mentality whereby we say, I mean, when you think about how much you honor and revere your parents and your grandparents, it's like, if they can't do it, well, how could I do it? That's the fear I'm talking about.
That word that you have there,
Ether, yes.
Expand on that.
Ether is, like I said originally, let me just start from the Bible first. If we go to the book of Joshua 15 and verse 42 and Joshua 19 and 7, it's just giving you the name of some cities, some villages. Joshua 15 and 42.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Libna, Yuda, Ashan, Chipta, Asman, Ezekiel, Taxi. Which I see.
Right? Okay. This ether, when we look it up now in the Hebrew, ether or ether means abundance. Alright, this city itself is a place in Palestine, but the word itself means abundance. Scientifically, they speak about ether as a type of alcohol.
Yeah.
you know. But what happens as soon as you open a bottle of alcohol, it'll fill the room. It expands, right? Now, when we begin to look at ether, and I'm just, give me a second here, finding it in the original books of the Bible. There are several forms of ether. Brother Shimi on page 34. Okay. It reads in the original books of the Bible, which I will explain, verse 23. It reads, O you that are members of humanity, you must come to fully realize and accept that there are 9 kinds of ether, to be exact, and they are in their order of strength. Okay? Going from pure living ether, which is 9-minded, melaninite, agreeable soul forces of eternal life, symbolized by wind, soul, and the salt of the earth. We say this because sodium is represented by the guardian angelic helper, Shu. Okay? So, this ether, alright, when you talk about a 9-minded person, in the Bible, we learn about a number that everybody say they want to be a part of. The 144,000. Oh Lord, I want to be in the number, right? That's the number they talking about, right? 144,000, right? This number is a symbolic number, all right? The symbology behind it is based around the reality of the math. 1 plus 4 plus 4 equals 9, and the 3 zeros behind it represent all time, all space, and all matter. Because 9 expands or encompasses all of these things. Okay? As we go back to the Qubtic, or the origin, we go back to 9 to the 9th power of 9. Mathematical formula that even computers have trouble doing. You'd spend the rest of your life trying to actually solve that mathematical problem. So to be 9-minded, it speaks of being a part of what we in the Qubtic Church know as the Karast, or Christ consciousness. Okay? Revelation 20:6, if we could just jump there quickly. Just let me know when you're there. Revelation 20, verse 6. We there?
Yeah.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. What is this first resurrection? When is it going to happen? Has it already happened? We in the Qubtic Church recognize, first of all, we always go back to the actual words to understand what is being said. So in the beginning was the word, so we need to go back to the words. Revelation chapter 20 verse 6. This word resurrection is the word anastasis in the Greek. And it's speaking, amongst other things, about a recovery of spiritual truths. Alright, right here in the King James Version, a recovery, and this is the Strong's Concordance. I have a hard copy here and I have one on my computer because it's lighter to carry. Right? Yeah, the big one is really big. So, this recovery of spiritual truths is what leads us back into 9-mind. Alright? The children of 9-mind will come to the truth. All right, they'll hear it and they'll say, okay, there's something there and I need to figure it out. There's nothing to do with the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah or me or this building or anything. But when they hear that truth, those of nine mind, they perk up and they say, hold on now, what was said there? Let me go check this thing out. Doesn't mean that they all going to be a member of this church. No, doesn't mean that. Because the universe uses us all. We are but gloves on the hands of the Most High. The Most High uses some over here, some over there. And the way you're going to say it, some people need to hear it the way you say it. Versus, you see what I'm saying? So that's just the nine. And it goes all the way down to one ether, which are the demonic forces.
You made a reference to the Greek. What did they describe? Greek.
What do you mean, the word itself?
You said something about the Greek.
Anastasis, yes, because they took the book of Revelation out of the Hebrew or even the Arabic, and they put it in the Greek. So in the Strong's Concordance, we're looking at
what the Greek said it means.
The Greeks are saying it means a standing up is G 386 if you have the Strong's Concordance, from G 450, a standing up again. That is literally a resurrection from death. Then in brackets, individual, general, or by implication, its author, or figuratively, a moral recovery of spiritual truth. Raised to life again, resurrection, rise from the dead, that should be raising again.
Does that mean in a spiritual sense or holistic sense?
Or in a what?
Holistic or spiritual emphasis?
Yes. Spiritual, the spirit, the soul, the physical, and the mental. All of those aspects of you have to be resurrected. You see? But the body goes where the mind takes it. So this doctrine is first and foremost a mental doctrine. That's why the first thing we say is...
It's interesting because the Greeks themselves, they were the ones who came up with the word Ecclesia, Ecclesia, which means the called out ones. Which most people don't understand that's what the church is.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they think of the church as a place where people congregate.
Yeah, it's another club.
Yeah. But the church, according to the Greeks, what you can see as those that are called out. Called out. The Greeks had a lot to say. As a matter of fact, our conversation in the mall, the Greeks, I believe I explained, they said they called economics managing the affairs of the household. Which means that everyone who has to deal with household affairs or running of the household is an economist.
Right. Yes. And the Greeks, what happened is when they came upon what our great ancestors were doing, they needed to figure out how to be a part of it. Not only them, but everybody that did. Some came, they learned, and they took what they learned back home. Because we knew that this was not our information, it's not our knowledge. Anybody can come in here and learn. The thought had not crossed some of our minds insofar as we never thought that, well, they come in here to learn what we can teach them, then spin it around and use it against us. We didn't think like that. You see? And that's what happened. The thing is, when they got back into their land, they were persecuted. Aristotle and Socrates and some of the others, people were like, what you talking about? And that's why they couldn't even give their people the unadulterated truth. They had to still water it down and leave some of the pagan aspects of their society in what became the Bible as we hold it today, because they would not let go of everything.
Well, like you said before, right? the whole thing has to do with states of mind or states of consciousness.
Yeah.
And
That's where it starts.
the word consciousness, that is a word that most people are not familiar with. Because when people hear consciousness, they don't know what you're talking about.
Right. You think about how you dress. And you got locks.
And some people also, when they hear consciousness, they think New Age too.
Yes, and that's what we are not. We're not New Age. We're not metaphysics. We're not any of those things. Though some of the things you will hear sounds similar, it's because we recognize that those people that are bringing forth the doctrines of the New Age doctrines and the metaphysics were delving into our original doctrines in the first place. And because they didn't get all of it, in order to connect certain dots, they had to add in philosophy and they had to add in their thought process because they couldn't explain everything. So there comes a point in all of the religions of the water age. By that I mean what you refer to as the Piscean age that we just came out of, and we're moving into what they call the age of Aquarius, or as we know it, the age of Ma'at, right? In all of those water religions, you have enough truth to get you there, and then once you get there, they say, now you have to believe. Okay, but hold on. I mean, like, you showed me, this, you showed me that. We just did the water thing, Now I just have to believe. Because somewhere along the line, they couldn't continue to connect the dots. And so now, if you didn't believe their version of how the dots were connected, they killed you or subjugated you. They oppressed you. Because now, listen, you messing up my thing. Because I got my what? My economy. My house is now in order. Based on this philosophy. And if you come in here and mess up this thing,
that's like Christ.
You can mess up my economy.
Christ.
And that's exactly what Jesus did. He wind up that car and he said, oh, okay, I'm selling stuff in here. And he started turning up. Get out of here with that. Right? Because that, first of all, we spoke about that too. That's their God. Mama and money. As long as they getting the results as far as money is concerned, it's all good. Education is the way. Education is the key. And so if the person who they telling that to say, guess what, I have an idea, but I don't actually need to finish your school, I can still go make some money. They praise them. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs or anybody who decide after 1 year of college, because they play basketball, they going to the NBA. Plenty of them. It's just with the University of Kentucky, they're in the whole starting 5.
Yeah.
See you later. I ain't knocking them now. What I'm trying to say is, the society we live in, we worship money so much that as long as the bills are being paid and as long as the money is coming in, we ignore the rest.
Well, what is your your explanation of your understanding? I think is probably relevant. Part of what we discussed when we talk about, because I'm familiar with the name Yeshua.
Yes.
Yeshua. But he said, and like I said, there was some information that he didn't give to the multitude.
Correct.
He just gave to people who were disciples.
Right. He said, don't tell nobody I did this.
Right, because like I said, when the Greeks called Ecclesia, they talked about called ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a secret society.
Yes.
Right?
Still is.
He said, I know. Okay. Well, conventionally most people know. But anyway, he said that there are only 2 masters.
Mm-hmm.
God and mammon. Mm-hmm. So you cannot serve the 2.
Right.
What is your understanding?
Our understanding is that you possess the wealth and you don't let the wealth possess you. It's a tool. You need to have the ability to control money, but you're not going to let money control you. You're not going to be in a position where you're making decisions to figure out, okay, how am I going to fill these seats? Versus, I need to speak the truth. The people that need to hear it will fill the seats. That would be a byproduct of us telling the truth, not, oh, I better not say this because, it's domestic collection played up and, we got to make sure we finish the wall. And, when you start letting the money control you, then that's when you're trying to serve two masters. But if you focus on, the truth of the matter, and I'm not saying you can't strategize. Yes, strategy is a part of it because we're at war. This war started in heaven and it's now still going on earth. So there's war strategies from heaven's time, in heaven. That's why we'll never have world peace until we get to the point where we can figure out that this war, they have peace. They have peace. We have to bring heaven to earth.